You know what would make that better? A cup of white cane coffee.
Wow, that really is great coffee.
White cane coffee, because every cup makes a difference.
It's not just about music lessons. It's about hard work, perseverance, dedication, self-expression, making memories. Let's make memories together.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome into the cafe as White Cane Coffee presents Coffee and a Conversation. Brian Hagberg with you on your daily local. Got myself a fresh cup of Dragon's Roast right here from the cafe. You can stop in, get yourself a fresh cup, get in one of these special laser engraved tumblers, get it filled with your purchase. When you bring it back, get 50% off your refill as part of the White Cane Coffee Mug Club. While you're here, you can pick up maybe a cinnamon roll or a Danish. Breakfast burritos available as well. Stop in around lunchtime for soup and sandwiches now available at the White Cane Coffee Cafe. If you can't make it down here to the plaza across from Tops, that's not a problem. White Cane's also available on DoorDash. Just place your order, have your favorites delivered right to your door. You can also order your favorite roast to brew at home online at whitecanecoffee.com. This is Coffee and a Conversation. We are joined this week by a very special guest, Lacey Hanson of the United Fund of Warren County. And Lacey, thanks, first of all, for taking some time and chatting with us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate being asked to be here.
And so kind of a big deal for you guys in the last couple of weeks, just exceeded your Torchlight campaign goal for this go round. Explain a little bit about what Torchlight is and how those funds then, once you reach your goals, get distributed through the community.
So the annual Torchlight campaign is, we just finished our 99th campaign, and it's a one single community-wide campaign that serves to fund, not fully, no agency gets their full funding from the campaign, but they get, supplemented and required to do more fundraising on their own just because of what the economics are right now and the times that we're in. But we support 20 local nonprofit agencies that are all offering basic human services to the community. And yeah, so we just reached our goal, which was $710,000. It's the highest that the goal has ever been. It seems every year we raise that goal and the community rises to the challenge. One thing that Warren County is known for is being very philanthropic and supportive of our nonprofits and people that are in need. Whenever anything comes up, they're rising to the challenge and they're making sure that the goals are met. So yeah, we raised the $710,000. All of our agencies are going to be funded fully to what we committed to for them for the 2024 calendar year. So we're really excited about that.
You mentioned the economic times and kind of supporting those agencies, but what again do you think it says about the community here that it seems like every year you guys are kind of inching your way higher with setting these goals, and every year you're not only meeting them but exceeding them.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we're in 2024 right now, and I remember in 2020, 4 years ago, this month actually, almost to the day when the world shut down, and we were all just sitting at our board meeting looking at each other like, what is this going to mean for the campaign and going forward? And we were very cautious about raising the goal that year. And are people, with everybody being out of work, are they going to be able to afford to give this year? And what's that going to look like for the campaign that we were going to kick off that fall? And I remember the board made the decision that year not to raise it because we weren't sure if the community was going to be able to do it, and that was our biggest year. And I think what it says about the community is that there's this tradition in Warren that we help each other. And when times are tough, that is when we dig deeper into our pockets. And we were able to reach the goal that year, no problem. In fact, that was the quickest that we had ever reached the goal in, since I've been here. I started in 2018, and I've never had anybody come and say, oh, the goal is too high, I don't think we're going to do it or anything. It's always like, okay, well, I could increase maybe $10 here or $20 here. maybe not go and
Right.
get dinner out this
Yeah.
week. They'll, we'll save that money and we'll put it towards the campaign. So, we just have this, and it's neat too, to be a community, because as the United Fund, I keep in contact with United Ways that are close regionally to us, and they have populations in their communities that are way larger than Warren, but they're not raising as much money as Warren County is. So they're always like, how do you do it? You guys are so philanthropic. And it's really nice.
It's just, again, that part of that small town, rural community focus, when you have fewer resources, which is, that's just the way it is. If you're not in a major urban center, you have fewer resources. But I think when you have fewer resources, sometimes that makes the collective come together more so than, oh, well, I can just go here, or I can go here. Hey, I've only got this place.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that's there for everybody going forward.
Right.
And so you mentioned 2018 is when you got. How did you get started?
Well, so I worked in retail since I was 16. Actually, it was over 20 years before I came to the United Fund, and I liked working in retail. I liked the fast pace of it. It was something that was different every day. When you would go to work, time would fly by. But I had 2 little boys at the time, and they were just starting to get involved in extracurricular activities. And a retail schedule does not, really support getting your kid picked up from school and getting them to karate or to baseball or to basketball. So that is kind of where the shift came in, and it kind of like meshed well, because in retail, you're trying to reach a sales goal. With the United Fund, you're trying to reach a fundraising goal. And so there's a lot of activity that goes on here. One of the interesting things about the United Fund is I'm the only employee. So, one day I might be bookkeeping. One day I might be sitting down and doing this with your daily local. One day I might be up at the school district talking to the faculty and trying to explain to them why they should, give $5 from their paycheck to the United Fund's campaign. So it's different every day, and I like that because it makes time go by fast. And the United Fund is actually a really fun place to work. And some people say, well, doesn't it get lonely? Don't you feel isolated? And it doesn't really, because I'm out talking to people, doing stuff like this all the time. I never get to feel like, oh, I'm really lonely, I need somebody to talk to. The community is very friendly, and so I could come here or just be out walking around and run into somebody to talk to them about it.
Well, and like you said, it's different. You probably sit in the office sometime when you're doing the books or whatever, but there's a lot of opportunity, I would imagine, to be out and about.
Yeah, the community has like some really great places to work at. Coffee shops are great place to work. We have Innovault now, which is co-working space, and I do have an office space that's in the WCCBI building upstairs there. And there's other offices that are in there where people are coming and going. So yeah, there's a ton of opportunities in Warren to get out and work. If you have mobile capabilities with laptops and stuff.
Excuse me. But and again, it seems like this has been. You talked about the 2020 year, and it was the fastest that you guys ever reached your goal. Was there ever a point in your tenure that you kind of getting towards the end of the campaign and going, I don't know if we're going to make this one, or is it?
I don't know if I ever felt like. The first campaign, because you're kind of like learning how each business like kind of reports in and what their cycle is and stuff. So I remember thinking, how is this going to work? Is the math going to math right? Are we going to get there? But then after you do a couple and you learn how each business runs their campaign and how they report in, is kind of systematic. And you're like, okay, well, once they get in, if they raise as much as they did last year, that should put us over. 2020 year, that was the fastest we ever reached it. I believe it was last year, the 2022 campaign, we started off really slow. I remember getting the mailings out. That's another thing I do. I put all the mailers together and sign all the letters and get them out in the mail. And I can remember those coming in really slow for the 2022 campaign. And I remember thinking during that one, is COVID finally catching up? Are the economics of COVID finally catching up to Warren? And is the mailing portion of the campaign not going to be as well as it has in the past? And it didn't. I mean, it still exceeded what we did the prior year. It was just really slow coming in. They weren't, some people, as soon as they get that solicitation in the mail, they're sending a check back, or they're going online and they're making their donation from our website. It seemed like it was, a month after where that was starting to happen. So interesting things happen with each campaign.
And I would think too, perhaps part of that, how it was so fast during the COVID year was, you had a bunch of people were home when the mailers came, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you had all the kind of stimulus, and people who were maybe had been laid off were still, getting some of those unemployment funds and things like that. And so it was readily available. But then, like you said, in 2022, you're getting on the tail end of all that stuff. And then now you got to sit and think about it for a minute. Like, all right, do I still, okay. Yeah, we could.
We can still send a $25 check or something. Yeah, it was really interesting. And each campaign is kind of, a little bit different where things will happen. The one that we just wrapped up, everything came in really quick this year. We were, even businesses that usually would report like mid to end of January, they were getting it in December and stuff and telling me their totals. So and things happen every year. Sometimes you'll get a big donation that you weren't expecting, and so that will get you to the goal quicker. And sometimes, with everything that happened with Blair and the bankruptcy that they filed, their company isn't giving anymore, and that was a huge loss to the campaign. I think that happened in the 2019 or 2020, somewhere in there.
2020, because that was actually one of the first major stories that we broke.
Okay, so 2020,
2020,
It was that was a crazy time too. A big supporter of the campaign for many years, and to all of a sudden learn we're filing I think it was a bankruptcy that they had filed.
Well, filing that, and then the distribution plant was being moved, and all kinds of stuff.
We lost quite a bit of support there. A lot of the employees did stay local though, and were sending in checks as opposed to doing like their payroll deduction or doing it through the company. So that was very helpful, and they're still the ones that are still planted in the community that gave for so many years continue to. So,
well, and again, I think what does that say about the work that the organization has done for all these coming up on 100 years, right? That people, even when they're they've been laid off or whatever, they're still taking that time to say, hey, this is something that's worth contributing to.
Yeah, and I think to that point, the quality of the member agencies is what drives that. So we have 20 member agencies that all benefit from the Torchlight campaign right now. They all offer basic human service needs, and if just to name a few, because I don't have all 20 memorized, but I could name probably quite a few of them. But we have hospice of Warren County, the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts, Family Services of Warren County, Jefferson DeFreeze Family Center, Don Mills Achievement Center, the Women's Care Center, Warren County Children's Advocacy Center, the Red Cross, Salvation Army. These are all agencies that when you sit back and think about it, everyone in the community benefits in some way. If you're not directly getting it, maybe your neighbor is, maybe a family member is. And without those services, what would the quality of life look like in Warren?
You never know when you might need them.
Right.
Like that.
Some
That's
of them
really,
are emergency services in some aspects.
Like you mentioned the Red Cross, right? I mean, you just never know when all of a sudden in the middle of the night and there's a fire or something, and now you need some of that assistance.
And they're going to be there. They will show up. Offering assistance, giving you housing, clothing, food, making sure that you're set. And we don't ever want to see those emergencies happen, but we want them to be here in case that they are happening. So, and some of them aren't, emergency, but they're the Warren County YMCA. Look at all the programs that they're offering for youth and character building over there, and so there's a balance there between emergency and character building and medical and what is offered. And if you go down through the list, if you really look at them and you go down through the list of what it is that is being supported, and you try to imagine Warren County without those services, it just wouldn't be the same community.
Oh my goodness.
Throwing my notes. But that's also what makes Warren County so special, is because you could go, up to Chautauqua County or Crawford or
Right.
wherever, and they don't even have a lot of these
Yeah.
services that we have right now that we're supporting. So yeah.
And so explain a little bit about how that support works, right? You give your contribution to the fund, and then you reach your goals.
Yeah.
But then from that point, how then do those funds go to those services, and are there specific parameters that those organizations have to meet in order to be able to use the funds?
Yes, there are. So to become a member agency, there is a process where you have to be a 501c3. You have to offer a basic human service to the community. And just because you're offering a basic human service need to the community doesn't necessarily mean that the board would approve it. They want to make sure that it's something that would be different than what is already being offered. So an example, let me try and think of an example. This happened actually. We had Don Mills Achievement Center is currently an agency. They've been an agency for many years. I'm not exactly sure of what year it was, but it's been quite a few years. Separately from that, the Achievement Center applied, and their application was denied because we were already servicing those people through the Don Mills Achievement Center. But we just recently, I think it was 2 years ago, accepted 2 new agencies. We got the Women's Care Center and Warren County Children's Advocacy Center, and for many reasons, the services that they are providing in the community, especially in current times, are needed. When you look at the newspaper and you read about the stories that are being reported in there, it's just a no-brainer that those kind of services need to be funded for the safety of children, for the health and safety of women. Even though it's called the Women's Care Center, they do actually service men there if they were in crisis too. So, but basically they would submit an application. We would go through all the criteria. If they meet the needs, the board would form a committee that would do a site visit to the agency and kind of do some more research looking into, do they meet all the criteria? Is this an agency that would enhance the United funds and what we're doing? Would it be helpful for them, for us? Is there a need for them? Are they surviving on their own, or is there a need for them to be supplemented from the campaign? And then that committee would report back to the board on what their findings were, and the board would make a decision from there. The funds are allocated out to our member agencies. So we have 20 local agencies, but then we also give a small donation to the USO in support of people from the community who are serving in the military, even though they're not a member agency. So we're allocating out to 21 agencies. 20 of them are here. And there's an allocations committee, and it's formed of 3 members from our board and 3 members from the community. And they meet with a representative from every agency once a year. We do it all in one day. So it's a long day. We start at 8 a.m. We end at 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. And every 20 minutes, there's a new representative that comes in. The committee reviews financials. They hear from them about what needs they're seeing within their agency. And every year there's a theme. Right after COVID, they were all coming in and telling us there's a mental health crisis going on. There's depression going on, and in some way they were all servicing mental health, and they were partnering with each other. We saw Family Services of Warren County and the YMCA coming together and supporting that need in the community. So so they present their financials. They come to the allocations committee. They tell them what their needs are, and then that committee goes and they makes a decision on how much each agency gets from what we fundraised that year. So it could go up or down based off of what they got last year, based off of what their needs are this year. And so we're actually coming up on that. I'm scheduling for that right now, and that day that we have with each agency is going to be in June. And so we're going to be working hard, and that committee does such diligent work, and they always seem to get it right. Once they make those amounts and set them, I will send checks out quarterly. So January, April.
So it's not just okay, here's your big lump sum for the year.
Right. Yep, they'll receive checks quarterly throughout the year. I'm actually getting ready to send out their second quarterly check for this year on April 1st. So yeah.
And so coming up, your next campaign will be
The 100th.
100th.
Yep.
And what are some of the things that you think it says about the United Fund itself that you're a century in and still going strong, that people feel about the organization from the community is how necessary it is?
Yeah, and that, the reputation of the United Fund is really important to me and to the board members. We all want to maintain that this is the United Fund, and the Torchlight campaign is something that you can feel good about giving your money to, because it is going to good services and more. It actually started with the idea 100 years ago that, how do I explain this? The community, the nonprofits in Warren were coming to the businesses multiple times throughout the year asking for funding, and it was placing a hardship on the businesses to continue funding them. So somebody had the idea that said, what if we did one community-wide campaign that benefited everybody? And that's still the premise of what it is today, 100 years later. So I think 100 years later, people trust us. They believe in the work that we're doing. They believe in the work that the nonprofits that we're supporting doing, and what the community would be like if we didn't have these here. So the quality of life in Warren County is important to people, so they continue to make it work. One of the interesting things about the United Fund that I haven't mentioned yet is supporters, as they have passed away, have remembered us in their wills, and a very generous one, Cora Blair, donated a ton of wealth to the United Fund, and the board at the time when that happened went to the community foundation and said, we want to set up an endowment for the United Fund. And they took that money, set up the endowment, and there's enough income every year off of that pays for all operating and administrative expenses. So when people donate to the campaign, it's not going to buy a postage stamp, it's not paying salaries, it's not buying envelopes or paying rent for an office or anything. It's 100% going back out into the community, which is rare.
Right.
And I only know of one other United Way in the country that it's operated that way, which coincidentally is the county is Warren, but I believe it's in Indiana, the state of Indiana. So I stay in contact with her because we're both set up so uniquely.
Right. And you mentioned that they went to the community fund to set up this endowment, right? And one of the things that should be clear is that United Fund and Community Fund are Community Foundation, I should say, are separate.
Yep.
And you said that sometimes people kind of get you guys confused a little bit.
I will sometimes get phone calls at my office asking for scholarship applications, and that's not what I do. You want to make sure that you call the Community Foundation for those so that you can get your applications for the scholarships, and vice versa. They'll get my phone calls from my office over there looking for me. But we are two separate agencies, but we do have an endowment that they do help manage for us over there. So
and you guys just wrapped up the campaign. They're going to have their big Warren Gives coming up here in about 6 weeks or so.
Yes. And we are one of the agencies in that. So there's a big match pool this year. And if you give to the United Fund through Warren Gives, all of the money that we receive through that will be put towards our 100th campaign that's kicking off this fall.
And you mentioned one of the newer agencies is the Children's Advocacy Center, which if you stop in here and get the special reserve, donation is made to the Children's Advocacy Center. So pick up the bag or a box of special reserve and give to the CAC, but that got you an extra co-chair for the campaign. And, the picture of successful campaign was you with Tiger, and I would think maybe that could be a big benefit, especially when you're going up to the schools or something. Hey, look, see, Tiger.
Yeah, we took Tiger up to the school this year, and he was soliciting donations from people, and he's just so easy to get along with, and it was fun taking him with me to businesses or for pictures over at the sign. You just lay down, Tiger, take a picture, and he's like happy to do it if you scratch his head. So
he likes to make appearances on the Morning Cup of News on occasion. When Melissa brings him in for their morning cup of coffee, but.
He likes this place. He actually has a really special connection to White Cane Coffee with actually how he ended up at the Children's Advocacy Center. It was through connections and the business owners here. So it's a really neat story. But the work that they're doing and that he does is so important. And yeah, if you ever need a hug or a snuggle or a cuddle, just stop over there and he will greet you at the door and hopefully tell you all about how you need to give to the United Fund. But also you can give him one of his treats off the counter over at the agency. He's fun.
So you guys are going to have your board meeting in May to set up next year's campaign goals and stuff. So what, when you're looking at setting up the next year's campaign and establishing a goal, what kind of things are you looking at to determine, okay, for example, this year you raised it $10,000. So what were some things that you looked at and said, we think this is an achievable amount to set for the campaign goal?
Yep. One of the things that the board will look at is the economics of Warren and what the businesses are doing. Are they thriving? Are they laying off? Are they closing? What are they all doing? We'll look at the prior campaign and how easy or difficult was it? Did donations go up or down from our big donors? Stuff like that. I will say this: they used to increase it by $5,000 every year, and they've been doing $10,000 recently. Yeah, not to put any stress or pressure on the community, but those are some things that they'll look at. And so when we get to the May meeting, that's one of the big decisions that needs to be made. There are some things being thrown around about this being the 100th campaign coming up. So should we increase it a lot and see if the community can rise to that challenge and what can we do? So you might see some interesting things to try and help celebrate the 100th year anniversary of the organization.
And I mean, beyond just the campaign, I mean, what are some other things that you guys are doing throughout the year that, the community might see you out and about or places that you go?
Well, the campaign will start in October, and the bulk of it is usually finished like by January. And then the rest of the time we're wrapping that up. We're scheduling those allocations meetings, getting those applications by the agencies for their allocations, reviewing them all. I mean, to review 20, but it's a stack of like that much that you need to get reviewed. And preparing for the next campaign, just like reviewing what happened in the last one, preparing your marketing for the next one. What's the story going to be? How are you going to communicate the need to the community? Like really thinking about that and preparing for the next campaign that's coming up. If there are any new applications for membership that came in, we're reviewing those, trying to get those taken care of so that during campaign time we're just focused on running the campaign and making sure that the goal is met for the agencies to be fully funded.
Beyond making a financial contribution, are there ways that if somebody wanted to come to you and say, hey, I'd like to help out, are there things that people could do or ways that they could help serve?
Yeah, there are many volunteer opportunities. Like I said, we have mailing solicitation, so all of those mailers need to go out if you are interested in helping to participate in that. If you are comfortable going out and doing public speaking, we could go into businesses and talk about United Fund all day and try to get people involved. If you're a local business owner and you'd be willing to hold an event at your business and say, a certain percentage of proceeds from sales or, whatever it is, Icy Inc. is actually working with us, and they're going to create a T-shirt where a percentage of the sale would go to the campaign. So, we're really looking at small businesses this next campaign and wanting to get them more involved, whether it's a donation from them, a percentage of sales donated, or having events to just raise awareness about the campaign. Though, raising awareness would go a long way in helping us in our campaign season.
And then you mentioned people can do payroll deductions, contributions. What are some other ways if somebody's out watching this right now and said, all right, I want to cut a check right now, or how could they do it?
Payroll deduction is the most common way, and it's probably the easiest because businesses will take it right out of your paycheck and then you don't even see that $5. And that's pre-tax. But if your business for whatever reason doesn't offer it, you can go to our website at unitedfundwarren.org, and we just redid the whole process. It's really easy now. You can make a donation, you can do it in memoriam of somebody. You can use a credit card, your PayPal, your Apple Pay, Google Pay, any method of payment that you want
Right.
is going to be accepted. New this past campaign, we added a new method of giving, which is the text to donate. So
Right.
people can text UFOWC to 41444 right from their phone, and it'll pop up a window that
Mhm.
you can make a donation right from your phone. So it makes it really easy. We have that code throughout the campaign on the banner that goes over the road, and we print it on our
Right.
brochures and all of our marketing pieces so that people see it like, oh, I'm just going to do it right from my phone. We'll put QR codes out. You can scan from
Right.
your phone, and it would take you right to our website to donate. So we try to make it as easy as possible. When we're thinking about, the future of the United Fund, we need to bring in the younger donors and make them believe that these agencies are worth sustaining. So reaching this goal is critical to the community every year. And where are those younger people? They're on their phone.
Yep.
So we're trying to find them on their phone while they're there, and getting digital advertising out and doing, things like this, and, just trying to reach them and explain to them what the United Fund is.
What kind of return have you seen so far from some of these newer, more quote unquote high tech options for people to give?
I mean, for the first year, I think it went pretty well. You can see where the people who are comfortable with technology who are using it, and then there's also going to be a generation of people who are used to writing that check and sending it, and that's how they're always going to do it, and that is perfectly fine. That method will always be accepted. But you do see that younger generation who is like, oh, the younger generation is actually very philanthropic. And one of the things that I've noticed is they want to feel like what it is that they're giving is going to a purpose. Like if I give you $25, what does $25 do? That buys a child a membership to the Deli Parton Imagination Library over through Jefferson DeFreeze Family Center. And so when they get that feeling of gratitude, like, oh, $25 is going to do this for a child for a year, that goes a long way. And so they are the first person to go and text the code and sign up, or go to the website and sign up. So,
well, and then when they can turn around and see that the Imagination Library just hit 50,000 books given away just in Warren County, again, that come almost immediate, wow, that my $25 helped provide one of those or multiple of those 50,000 books.
Yeah. And Jen and Melinda have all sorts of statistics over there of getting those books into children's hands, the earlier the better, because it improves and increases their literacy rates and grades and stuff as they grow up and go through school, grade school into high school and stuff. So it is a pretty incredible program that they're doing over there.
Well, and I know when we first moved back, my two youngers were in that age range, and we were getting the books from them periodically, and they loved it. And every time one would come in the mail, it's like, oh, I got a new book.
Yeah, because kids don't really get mail, but when they see a package come that has their name on it, it's exciting for them to open it. And I remember being little and getting stuff like that. Like, oh, mail.
I got mail, yeah. I actually heard the old "you've got mail" the AOL thing the other day. I was
That's
like,
old.
oh, yeah, it took me back a little bit.
How old does that make you?
Yeah. Anyway, not nearly as old as the United Fund, which again, I mean, 100 years in the community is just, it's mind blowing when you think about it. And then, you think about, gosh, that's 1924. And, again, because I'm older, I think 100 years, right? They're back in, 6-shooters and Old West and all that. But,
but you think about what was going on in 1924. And like the buildings that weren't even here yet, how different the community looked and how much has changed in the 100 years. And it's wild.
and at that point in time, right, you're the roaring 20s, and 5 years later it's depression, and that this organization was able to be in its infancy, really, and maintain through a depression like that. I think again really just speaks volumes to the need and how people feel about it.
Yeah. And it has evolved over time. I mean, when the organization was first formed, they called it the Community Chest. And at one point it was a United Way. But then, when you think about Warren and the independency that we have, and the people wanting their money to stay local, they felt that not being a member of the United Way and changing the name to a United Fund, because when you're a member of those bigger organizations, you have to send out membership fees and to be a part of it and stuff. And you have to evaluate, like, to send this money out of the county, what am I getting in return? And does it balance out or not? And it happened in the 80s. The board in the 80s made that decision that, okay, we're not going to be a United Way anymore. We're going to be a United Fund, and we're going to do this all on our own, and we're going to keep our money local. So that also speaks to the mindset of the philanthropic people in Warren County. And
it's early. It's all right.
Yeah. Big words.
Yeah. Well, so, again, if people want to find out more information about everything you guys have going on, best place to go
would probably be our website, www.unitedfundwarren.org. Andy King graciously donates his time to keep that website up to date for us. So all of our information is there. You can also stay up to date with us on Facebook. That's probably actually updated more often than our Facebook or than our website. We're United Fund Warren of Warren County on Facebook as well, so you can follow us there.
All right. Lacey Hanson of the United Fund of Warren County, thank you so much for taking some time with us this morning and explaining what all this fantastic organization
Thanks
does.
for having me.
That'll do it for this week's episode of Coffee and a Conversation. Don't forget to tune in every Saturday morning for more Coffee and a Conversation presented by White Cane Coffee. For Lacey, I'm Brian. And thanks so much for watching, and have a great weekend, everybody.
You know what would make that better? A cup of White Cane coffee.
Wow, that really is great coffee.
White Cane coffee, because every cup makes a difference.
It's not just about music lessons. It's about hard work, perseverance, dedication, self-expression, making memories. Let's make memories together.